Hello, YouTubers. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. My name is Beth. I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered if sharing your own personal experiences and your own personal stories would ever make a difference in the world? I'm here to tell you it absolutely does. I have had some major life changes in the last little bit that I'd like to share with you. Some of you watching this video might know me very well personally. Most of you, many of you have never seen me before. Again, my name is Beth, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about my past so you know who I am, where I come from, a little bit about my current present situation that explains how I got to where I'm at now and why I'm doing this channel, and my future, where I hope to have this channel go to. So this is my first video. And so I'll first want to get to sharing a little bit of my past, because you have to kind of know where I've been to get a full picture of who I am and where I'm trying to get with this and how any of it relates to you at all. If you resonate with it, it's amazing. I want to create a community of people to find my own tribe of people who think like me, who can benefit and share their transitional processes in life together, and make the world a better place just by sharing stories. And I think it's a wonderful idea. Hopefully you do too. But I was raised in a little small American town, and my early childhood years were in poverty, starvation, neglect, abuse. And I want to share a little bit about that, not because I want people to feel sorry for me or any kind of way, but those experiences happened for me, not to me, and they made me who I am today, which I'm very grateful for. But when it comes to poverty, starvation, neglect, abuse, those are not limited to any geographical area. Those are human conditions around the world. Those are conditions that the world of humans have created for ourselves. So I think the more that we talk about those issues, the more we can make light of them, we can learn from our past, and hopefully create a better world for our future selves. So I grew up kind of rough. My first pivotal change in my life was when I was 9. My biological father passed away, which was actually a huge relief to me. I know that sounds really strange, but I had this childhood habit that I could not let go of. My parents tried everything in the world to try to get me to stop, but I stuck my thumb till I was 9. And the day my father passed away, it ended, because that was an attachment habit that I created to cope with my abuser. And the day he died, the abuse was gone. I no longer needed that coping mechanism. So that portion of me is coping mechanisms is something I still struggle with today. But a year later, my mother remarried. My stepfather had either PTSD, paranoid schizophrenia. I'm not sure what it was, but he heard voices. He was constantly paranoid about thinking that us kids were conspiring against him. He got very violent, abusive. When I was 13, I decided that I would take it no more. I left home and I refused to go back. Some friends of mine that I had met a year previous to that on a trip with my landlord, who introduced me to some of her family. Well, they had heard about what I was going through. Because I refused to go home, I was considered a ward of the state, in need of a family, and they came to my rescue. They moved me to Colorado. It was just amazing. I finally had a mom and a dad who loved me. I had little sisters, horses. I had all the food I could eat. It was great. Unfortunately, it only lasted a couple of years before I ran into issues. See, I was raised in a different kind of jungle. I didn't know how to have a family, didn't know how to communicate with a family like that. So, long story short, I was out on my own at the age of 16, which led me directly into 3 years of drug addiction and more abuse that I did not or could not change until I brought another human being into the world. When I was 19 and a half, I had my son, which he changed everything. For the first time in my life, I truly knew what unconditional love was, and uh, it changed my perspective about everything. So becoming a mother put me into a different mindset, a different way of viewing the world, or viewing myself. Really, I am my own world. You are your own world. When I say world, it's me I'm talking about. So, but 19 and a half, I was a single mom. A couple of years went by. I was in college, got married. I didn't want my son to be alone in the harsh, cruel world that I saw. So had another little baby girl so that he wouldn't be alone if anything were to happen to me. Well, little sister didn't like how brother played all the time. So some years down the road, I had another little girl. So I had three little me's. When my youngest was 2 months old, I found myself getting divorced. It's a nasty divorce, but I ended up a single mom again, this time with 3 kids. And I knew that I needed to better myself for them and have more resources for myself. So I joined the Army National Guard. And at the time, I knew there was a huge risk because we were at war with Iraq. So I knew there was a chance that I would have to leave my kids. But at the time, I knew I needed to go to college, and that weekend drill money paid my light bill every month. So at the time, it seemed like a good idea. A couple more years down the road, I went to Iraq. So, at the time, my thought process was, at the risk of losing myself, at least I'm leaving a legacy, honor, and respect for my kids, doing something that they could look up to. Because I didn't come from a history of people that I can look up to. So I wanted to give that to them. And at the time, it seemed like a good idea. Iraq sucked. It really did. I hated leaving my children. I felt like I was my mother who abandoned me. It was a really dark and tough time, and my children will wear the scars of those times for the rest of their life. I came back from the war and I married my best friend. I was so happy I found somebody who wanted to help me raise my kids, who wanted to be with me for my better self or my worst self. And we truly could talk about anything. I could be myself without any condemnation. It was wonderful. We had a pretty good life together, lots of adventures, but raising the kids together really took a toll on us. Took a toll on the kids. Neither one of us knew what we were doing. We just knew that we needed to love them the best that we could. My kids had a really tough time growing up. But we all survived. We're all still very close and loving family. That brings me to my present situation. So I'm just going to back up a little bit to September of 2017. Just before that, I had a really awesome career with the federal government. I had great pay, great benefits, retirement plan, security, all the things that we're raised here in America to think that that is the ultimate goal, security. But you know, I just could not ignore the fact that my soul needed something more. I needed meaning in my life, and I knew that I wanted to help other people. So I did something crazy, which I would never recommend to anybody, but I quit my job and jumped into a business where I had no idea what I was doing, and struggled and went into the poorhouse over the next year, truly tested every aspect of my life. When you become an entrepreneur after being a wage earner your whole life, you really have to look into your own brain to see how it works, because you have to develop skills of organization, self-discipline, motivation, success habits, and all these things have to do with how you feel about yourself. So I was really diving deep into my own intellectual mind, just kind of putting together the puzzle pieces of why I thought the way I did about certain things with certain people, and how my relationships developed over the time of my life, and where I wanted to make changes in my life and develop myself to who I wanted to become. And all these changes came about because I started my own business, even though it never really quite got off the ground and I've had to put that on hold for now. But it was a huge success because it launched a spiritual awakening in me. I awakened to the fact that I needed to learn about myself and how I interact with the world around me. I was in an open marriage for 13 years, and while it was very loving and adventurous, and he was my best friend, after a while, that lifestyle started leaving me feel a little empty. And although kind of made some adjustments to try to change that, it never really did. But I couldn't help the fact that I was changing on the inside, and that lifestyle no longer suited the person I was becoming. So I had to make some really heartbreaking decisions in the last few months. Ending relationships with people that no longer aligned with the vision of where I wanted my life to go. And, you know, sometimes when you make changes in your life, the people and the relationships around you have to change as a result of you changing. And sometimes that hurts people, especially when it's someone so close to you that doesn't understand the changes that you're going through and the decisions you have to make hurt them, even though they don't understand them. You have to make decisions based on what you need, not necessarily what your partner needs you to need, if that makes sense. And when you're changing yourself from the inside, that changes and evolves every relationship around you. So moving on, I had some really hard to take karmic lessons since deciding to end my marriage, and kind of went on a little bit of a self-destructive path, but I'm back. And going forward into the future, I want to develop a lifestyle that helps other people, and doing so, helping myself. This is a giant world, but everybody on this planet has the same home. So if we could develop communities together that create a better, more loving home, then the whole human race can learn from that and benefit from that. So I want to create more videos similar to this, maybe not so long as this one, but I want to develop a platform where people can come together, share their experiences, and learn and grow and transition together, because we're not alone. Everybody on this planet is transitioning at some point in their life. And we can transition together and be a support and spread love and help each other. So thank you for listening to my story, and I hope that you got some benefit out of it. If you have, please hit the little thumbs up button and the little bell, because I plan to do more of these videos and I would love to share them with you. So if you click the little bell, you'll be notified when I upload another video. And of course, all my subscribers will get a heads up first. So subscribe, like, share, because even if this doesn't resonate with you or doesn't benefit you, it might benefit somebody you know, somebody that else is going through some kind of transitional process. So share it if you find value in it. And I look forward to seeing you next week.